who cares? Why do we need these z-scores? Well, one thing that the standard deviation gives us is a universal metric, which means we can examine the individual across multiple variables. We can compare them on more than one quality or trait. So to illustrate this point, calculate the average z-score and the distribution of z-scores and see what you find. And once you've calculated the average z-score, let's also calculate what's the average deviation from the mean in the z-score distribution. And what we find is that the mean of the z-scores is approximately equal to 0. If it's not, that's because of rounding differences. It should be equal to 0 in reality. And we find that the standard deviation of the z-score distribution is 1. It's always 1. Anytime we transform any distribution on any variable, anytime we transform the individual scores into z-scores, we get a new distribution of numbers, because now they're in terms of z. But the shape of the distribution and the amount of variability has not changed. So that is still the same. But now, by transforming variables into z distributions, by creating z-scores for each individual, we are able to compare all kinds of different variables with each other. Because regardless of how they were measured originally, they will always have an average of 0 deviation from the mean, and those distributions will always have a standard deviation of 1. Just basically saying, on average, people are not deviating from the mean, and those who do typically deviate 1 z-score, or 1 standard deviation from the average. This is essentially what allows us to take the variability we've quantified, use it to our advantage to identify systematic patterns and relationships by saying, are people who tend to be this far above or below the mean, do they also tend to be above or below the mean on some other variables? So that's why psychology is about the study of deviations. That's why we need z-scores. We don't really care what their actual score was. We care how they fared relative to the average, and whether or not that predicts how they stand relative to the average on other qualities as well. And so remember, we asked in a previous class if we're interested in describing and understanding how people view O.J. Simpson, particularly in terms of his trustworthiness was our example, we want to quantify the variability for the specific reason of predicting and explaining it. So that takes us even a step further, and it lets us say, okay, how might we explain variability in perceptions of O.J. Simpson? We know people differ in all kinds of qualities. Why? Now that we have standardized and taken a standardized approach to analyzing each person and as an individual and as an aggregate in the sample, we can use the z-scores to find systematic relationships between two variables, x and y. And that is the next thing we're going to do. So now we're basically we've learned how to quantify variability with variance and interpret that with the standard deviation. And we've learned how to use that standard deviation as an estimate of typical variability to standardize each person's quantitative score. And we can use that to now estimate covariability, or rather how two variables tend to vary or deviate together. Okay, so if you have any questions about how to calculate Z-scores or what they are, you can email me or you can ask them in class on Tuesday. Let me know. Hope this video has been helpful to you. It's hard to keep a straight face in your face. It's like this. It's the weekend. Be safe, stay inside, stay warm, look out for each other, make good decisions. I'll see you on Tuesday.